President, Madam President, before the time that is reserved for the chairman of the committee, I just want to respond to my friend, and he is my friend, from Oklahoma, by telling him why I think he's wrong on this issue, and tell him by way of a compliment to him. Because the senator from Oklahoma and I, the senator from Florida, had worked together, he being much more prominent in the efforts to bring the budget under the control a year ago. In having discussions across the aisle, often private discussions, what started as a rump group known as the Gang of Six that blossomed into what in effect became a group of 45, and I think that was the number of us that stood up in the Senate press gallery in the summer a year ago, the summer of 2011, and said that we wanted a big $4 trillion plus budget deficit, and we pointed out ways that we could get there. Indeed, what this senator has said, I have heard other Republican senators, and I will name one, who we feel almost and have said very close to identical things publicly, and that is Senator Lindsey Graham, and he stated it on Meet the Press a couple of months ago, that the way you get there is producing revenue through reform of the tax code by going after all of the tax preferences which have ballooned out of control since the last tax reform bill in 1986 that this senator, then a young congressman, voted for, to the point that tax expenditures, tax preferences are now $14 trillion over 10 years. A lot of them have outlived their usefulness. A lot of them, their special interest or sponsors would tell you, we wouldn't want that if we can have a certainty of a lower rate. And therefore, we have said many times on this floor and in public statements, you can take tax preferences, restrain them, use that revenue to do two things. Lower everybody's tax rates, including corporate, streamline the tax code by getting all of this underbrush of preferences out of the way, and then use the rest of the revenue to lower the deficit. Now, I suspect that the senator and I feel very similar about that issue. And so when he talks about reforming the spending process, the fiscal process, which includes the revenue process of this country, then I think we have grounds for significant agreement, and I would hope that we're going to address that in the lame duck session that starts. My plea today is that we don't take it out in this particular case on something that can be done immediately for veterans in need returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Senator, yield for a question.
Of course.
Through the chair, I'd ask the senator, how did he vote on the tax extender package coming out of the Senate Finance Committee? Because that's the real test of whether or not you want to reform the tax code. If I recall, you voted for it and I voted against it, which is a very big difference.
The senator's time has expired. Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. And Madam President, I'm going to remind all the senators we are